said he raped, our daughter, And she said, no, we did it consensually. And the judge said it's okay. Said, well, you're both of age, there's nothing wrong. He said, why stop a brother from marrying a sister? It's like, ooh, they're making it legal to do that now. And that brought up another good point too, and we won't get into this tonight, but just to put it in your mind, a guy that was talking about it said, okay, well, if your brother can marry your sister, all right, what if you have a father who turns gay and marries his own son? What's to stop them from doing that?
Yeah, because immorality is running rapid.
Yes, it is. So, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, so we're going to stay away from that one. But, so you have two options here, okay? One is Cain married his sister, okay? And from his sister and his marriage came the Gentiles, all right? Because they were cut off. Cain was cut off from the blessings of God, all right? And that's where the Gentiles rose from. And then Seth would have married one of his other sisters, all right? And from their seed came the Jewish people, all right? So that's one, and many people believe that. I have heard other people say that, like I said earlier, Adam and Eve and their family was here, and God created the Gentiles over here separately. And that when Cain left and had to wander around, he found them. And that's where he married into. But one way or the other, really truly, it doesn't go into great detail describing. And, anything related to the Gentiles, of course, Moses wasn't going to, because that would be like us writing a book about the Christian faith and spending most of the time talking about the Muslims. Moses didn't want to talk about them. So that's basically all the word says. All right. So it does say that Eve is the mother of all living. It says that Cain killed Abel, and he had to take off, and he married somebody. Whether it was his sister or whether it was somebody else, that is the line of the Gentiles, okay? And once again, you can get into a deep study of this and trace Cain all the way to a woman named Hagar. Y'all know who Hagar is? She was the handmaiden of a woman named Sarah. And she slept with Abraham, and she was pregnant, and her son named Ishmael, and he is the father. Ishmael is the father of the Muslim nation. All right. But once again, though, you hit a roadblock talking about that study too, because there's a thing called flood. Flood kind of wiped everybody out. So, but it is. Do what?
That's what he meant to do.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. So, once again, if God will do things one way, and He does it that way like a one time, He may do it the same way again, right? So if you look at it with Noah, it's plain. There was only one family left on the world, and they had to inbreed to repopulate the earth. If He did it then Adam and Eve, it would make perfect sense that that's what happened here as well. All right. But you got to realize Moses lived, 1,000 years after Adam and Eve. So some of the details may be a little fuzzy in his head because he wasn't exactly there. All right. But this was an oral tradition. The whole time Adam taught Seth, and he told him these stories, and Seth recorded them in his mind. All right. During that time at Adam and Eve, writing didn't exist. All right. Seth told his children. All right. And if you go down into chapter 5, it'll get into the descendants of Seth. All right. Enos. All right. And you keep going. After Enos, Canaan. After Canaan, you got daughters and stuff. See, it says, and begot sons and daughters, but they don't name any of the daughters' names. All right, and you keep on going down, and there's a lot of people listed down through there. And if you go back, actually, and look at the descendants of Cain, you will recognize more of the descendants of Cain than you will of Seth. All right? Seth. Anybody ever heard of a man named Enoch?
Yes. He was translated.
That's right. He was translated. I know it won't happen. I'd like to know what it means to be translated. I just, it's just, I don't know. It gives me chills just to think about it. It's like he was here one second and then boom, he was translated straight into heaven. It's just like, Anyway, that would be awesome. But Enoch, all right, and you go on down, well, I think it's his grandson or great-grandson is a man named Methuselah. Everybody knows who that is. What a lot of people do. He was the oldest man in the Bible. 969. 69.
What's so weird is like I've always wondered because nowadays you're not supposed to live over a certain amount of years. And now, like actually, there's some people that live like 110, 106.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, like, it's just certain people.
Right.
It's like,
I've always wondered about that, because right now, if I'm not mistaken, I think a generation or a lifespan is set at 70 years. I think that's what God cut it down to. And I don't want to say it's unnatural that we live longer, but
this woman just had 110.
I know. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, to live over a century, that I couldn't imagine that. But
I just always wondered why.
Yeah. Well, I believe it has a lot to do with the way you live your life. Those people that live to 110, I can guarantee you they never smoked a cigarette in their life. They probably never drank. They didn't eat foods with preservatives in it. They ate organic everything. They probably lived on a farm. That they were simple people. The majority of the things that kill us today are things that we add to things. Preservatives. You want to know why people are so sick? You read the list on the back of a can of beans. Well, I go to a store and I buy a can of green beans. All right, in that can should be water and green beans. All right, first I throw some sodium in. All right, sodium will help preserve the color, the flavor, and the life, but it'll clog your arteries. All right, it can cause strokes. I mean, it can do all kinds of stuff. And then you get into stuff you can't pronounce. Bicarbonate, JoJo. It's like, if I can't pronounce it, we probably shouldn't be eating it, because most of that stuff is not natural. It's made in.
We need that class, candy class. For real.
Candy class.
Preserve it.
Right. Well, and that's, to me, I remember growing up, my mama canning green beans. They tasted so much better than what you open up a can now. I picked green beans the other day. I cooked them. They tasted so much better, And I put some salt in it, but I didn't put bicarbonate, juju beans in it or whatever,
Because my mom, she, for 3-4 years, all she would drink is Mountain Dew. I don't know why she was so addicted to Mountain Dew, but she would go through 3 or 4 liters a day.
Okay, I wasn't that bad, but
I was like, she would tell me to go to the store. I said, no, you don't need it. The next week she'll have about 6 kidney stones, and I'm like, geez, that's just Mountain Dew, but she could not stop drinking Mountain Dew for some reason.
Well,
that's addicting.
Yeah, see, I was the same way. I would drink. Has she ever had her sugar checked?
Yeah, she has diabetes.
Okay, boom, that's what it is.
She has diabetes too.
Diabetes causes you to be thirsty. All right, that's one of its reactions. All right, because your blood is actually too thick with the sugar, and your body craves liquids, trying to thin its blood out. But when you're pumping in Mountain Dew, and I love Mountain Dew. Oh, I would drink a 2 liter a day. We got an ice crusher. I get it cold. A 20-ounce Mountain Dew has more refined sugar, and when you see sugars on there, I think it's 76 grams of sugar. All right. That's more sugar than I take in 2 weeks. All right. That is the recommended daily allotment for 10 people in one 20-ounce Mountain Dew. And I used to drink over a 2 liter a day. Sugar by itself, refined sugar, it's addictive. You ever try to quit eating chocolate? Try to eat sweets? You'll go through withdrawals because that sugar is just as bad as nicotine or caffeine. All right, caffeine in the Mountain Dew, it has more caffeine than any other soda on the market. All right, it's a drug. I promise you it is. Mountain Dew by itself is the most evil thing that Satan ever created.
It's like my little nephew, when she used to drink Mountain Dews, like she'd pour a glass and she'd give him like one little sip,
Yeah.
and then within 30 minutes, he's just like,
Bouncing all over the place.
and I'm like, oh goodness, that is like crack for them.
Yeah, it is. I used to have Mountain Dew sitting beside the bed. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and drink a glass of Mountain Dew and go to sleep. After a while, you get used to
I
it.
think Mountain Dew, I just thought it gets old quick, like it's all watery and
Oh,
loses its flavor, and I'm just,
To this day, I don't like carbonated drinks. You can ask Amy. I'll drink half of it and shake it up and drink it flat. I love flat Coke, so I'm just weird. But anyway, I believe a lot of it has to do with the way people live their life. That's why they're being blessed to live that long.
but is it really a blessing to live that
Well, see, that's the thing too. If you look
long? Because
at
you're in pain and
after the age of 50, all right, the majority of people in the world spend most of their money on preserving their life, and it's very true. After the age of 50, your medical bills go up because you're constantly going to the doctor. All right, you look at just well, I'm just going to use my mother, okay? And I love my mama, and I don't wish any ill on her whatsoever. All right, but if it hadn't been for doctors, my mama would have died several years ago. And we would look at it, well, that's not what God wanted. Is it? Or is it not?
Yeah, but just think that you put yourself in their place when you want.
Oh, yeah.
That's how we know
I
about
know.
living, so we want to.
Oh, I understand that completely.
because a lot of people.
I put myself in my place. I'm like, I wanted her to live, you know?
Yeah.
God wouldn't have made doctors, wouldn't have made people smart enough to come up.
But see, there are certain, like, certain people that won't go to the doctor because they don't believe in prolonging their life through
That's what
all.
I'm saying. Is it unnatural to, like, if God wants you to go, but someone's keeping you here?
Yeah.
Is that?
The thing about it is, God don't want you, if He didn't want you to live it, well, He would let you,
That's right.
no matter what you do.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and you know, we can look at it, but you know, it says that there is appointed unto man once to die. And there is one commandment. The Bible says if you'll honor your father and your mother, you will prolong your days. You can live longer. I don't believe Satan can kill you, but I believe you can give him the opportunity to cut your life short. All right. You know, I've had people in my life that died because of drug and alcohol. My brother, okay, he was an alcoholic. He was a drug addict. I don't know what he saw in Iraq, but sorry. I wish he'd never gone. All right, because when he come back, he wasn't the same person. All right. So, because whatever he saw, he decided I'm going to drink and I'm going to do drugs. I'm going to drown that out of my head. All right. He died at the age of 45 years old. All right. He drank himself to death. All right. He cut his own life short. All right. I don't believe God desired him to die like that, but because of his own choices, he did cut his life short. So, is it part of God's plan? Yeah. Did God set that time and that hour? Yeah, because God knew the choices that he was going to make. But I think if some of us would make some better choices, we may live a little bit longer. And, you know, Paul said it. He said, for me to die, that's my gain. All right, but for me to stay here, that is Christ's gain, so that we can spread the word and do more.
But that's being in Christ.
Right, yeah, that's being in Christ, yes.
Because a lot of people, when they go to the hospitals and their heart starts beating, a lot of them don't like to be
Resuscitate. I had that order on my paperwork. Do not resuscitate. If my heart stops, bye y'all. I'm out of here. I got my bags packed. I ain't worried about it. Amy knows. Don't you hook me up in your machine. I'll come back and haunt your butt. You know, and I'm weird, and my mama taught me this way. And I know that probably most people wouldn't want my body parts, but I'm not an organ donor either. I can't imagine part of my body living on to somebody else, it just creeps me out. If I would start thinking about it, it'd be like, okay, you take my heart, are you going to start loving the things that I loved, or you take my lungs, well, I used to smoke, or you're going to, you're going to, anyway, it's creepy. But no, I do not resuscitate. I'm not an organ donor, and don't give me blood either, because I don't know where your blood's been. So that's just the way I am. So, but each one of us is different. So right quick, Miss Jackie, going back to what you said, okay? All right, and your question, all right, and I want you to tell me what you've heard, all right? So verse 15 of chapter 4, all right? And God had cursed Cain, and it says, and the Lord said unto Cain, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. Okay. God put a mark on Cain, all right, so that people would automatically recognize he is under the judgment of God. Do not touch him. Is that what y'all read? Okay. What have you heard there, Miss Jackie?
No, I don't know. I just wanted to read what is the mark. What was the mark?
Okay. All right. I was told years ago what the mark was. All right. And I told the man he was stupid and he needed to shut his mouth. All right. We need to understand this mark was a curse. Okay? And y'all read it any different? This mark was a blessing in a way for Cain that he wouldn't die, but it was a curse too, because everybody would look at it and say,
and they knew it was bad.
Automatically knew. It's like walking around with, adultery tattooed across your forehead. People would like, oh, there's a sinner right there. He's under judgment for God. Has anybody ever heard a description of what that mark was? Really?
I can't get on content.
I had a preacher tell me, and that's the man I told to shut his mouth. I told him, I said, you need to get back in your word and you need to fall on your knees. I said, because you are out of the will of God. And I think I may have used some other words like stupid and idiot, because it was offensive to me, what he said. All right? So are y'all ready? All right. Dasha, Miss Jackie, I love y'all, okay? And this is why I took up for some people. He told me that's where black people came from.
Well, I hear something about shame.
Yeah, and that goes to Noah and the shame that was upon him.
Okay, now I remember that part.
Right.
So it could be, I don't know.
Right. Well, we'll get into that too in just a minute. But he told me, he said, this is why it's okay to be racist. And I remember asking him, he said, that's why it's okay to be racist. I said, what's your excuse for being stupid? That is so ungodly. It's mind-boggling how stupid people are. But, and I did say some harsh things to him, and I probably shouldn't have, but at the same time, we live in the South. Do what?
I said, how is it okay to be racist? That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. I'll be honest. I grew up racist. My mama, she's racist to this day. Okay. I had a friend in high school. His name was Jermaine Stewart. All right, and I'm still friends with him. He cuts up. He called me Jigaboo. I called him Cracker. All right. I mean, that's just the friendship we had. All right. We played football. He was the running back. I blocked for him. He said, "I'm going to be your friend." I said, "Okay." He said, "If you're blocking for me, I want to know I can trust you. That way, I won't get tackled." So, I mean, he was one of my best friends, And that's when I realized all the stuff that my mama had taught me and my family. It's just junk. God, go back. He said he created Adam and Eve. He created man and woman in his image. And then after Noah, when God put the covenant in the sky, it was a rainbow. All right, God, is it okay to be racist against blacks or whites? But then you have Chinese. All right, then you have Native Americans. Then you have Jews. Jews aren't white. Jesus wasn't white. So who's it okay to be racist against? And who's it okay to accept?
Yeah, I was always confused about that because, I would see pictures of Jesus being black, and then I'd see pictures of Jesus being white. I'd see pictures of Jesus being Jewish. I'm like,
Jesus would have looked similar to the skin tone of Eli. He would have been Mediterranean. He would have been Arab. You see Muslims on TV. He would have been same area.